welcome to the regular council meeting of Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025 at 4:40 p.m. in council chambers and via Zoom. We acknowledge that the town of Kirkland Lake is located on traditional and unceded territory of Indigenous peoples. We recognize the presence of these Indigenous people in our community since time immemorial and honor their stewardship and care of these lands. We hereby affirm our continued commitment and responsibility to reconciliation. Item number 1 is call to order and a moment of silence. Item number 2, approval of the agenda. May I have a mover? Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Rick Owen.
Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025, be approved as circulated, and that section 33 of the procedure bylaw 1575 as amended be lifted for matters noted under section 4 petitions and delegations only to relax the rules on discussion between members and the public, and to also allow administration to openly participate in the discussion where required.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimous. Item number 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. There is none seen at this time. Item number 4, petitions and delegations. At this time, we're going to welcome Ms. Evelyn LaChance, lead petitioner and Tweedsmuir housing resident, and Jessica Cashmore, also of Tweedsmuir resident. You may come up. May I have a mover? Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Kiley.
Be it resolved that the delegation entitled petition request for installation of a crosswalk on Tweedsmuir Road at the housing complexes be received for information purposes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Evelyn LaChance. I started the petition for the crosswalk at 25 Tweedsmuir. I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier, because the fact is I've seen it quite often. There are seniors that had a hard time crossing the street, even to just go across for any event. I've seen a lot of handicapped people trying to cross the street because the traffic does not slow down. I myself have a hard time with my dog. You know, there's the times I don't cross, I have to wait. This is Jessica. She's gonna continue. She's gonna tell you her own story, okay?
Thank you. Welcome, Jessica.
Jessica.
Thank you. So I live independently, and I travel independently with the help of my guide dog. And yes, that crossing is very difficult. You know, it's great that we have the lights down at Government Road, but when we go to leave the housing unit and we, you know, want to cross the street, you know, it doesn't make sense to have to go all the way down to where the intersection is, you know, in order to be able to cross safely. So a crosswalk would be greatly appreciated and well used, especially, you know, there are kids there as well from the housing units. You know, they cross the street regularly to go to school and whatnot, so looking out for their best interest as well. You know, in terms of my own travel independently, you know, people may not always see the dog, so they may not realize that I am sight impaired. You know, so the crosswalk would just slow them down a bit and you know, make it easier for us to cross, because it's taken me, sometimes I've been staying there 10-15 minutes waiting, you know, during a busy time of day. Yes, so thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from members of council? Councillor Owen?
Through you, your worship, I want to commend the people that took up the petition. This is another area of town where traffic has changed drastically with the installation of everything at Civic Park. Yes, primarily the residents at 25 Tweetsmere and 25A Tweetsmere. Would benefit from this, but we have many special events there. That draw very large crowds that could benefit from a crosswalk there. I would like to see if perhaps our roads department could do a traffic count. Or or perhaps move ahead without the traffic count, because I think there is a need. I think if this came to council as a motion, we could do it in time to get it put in next year's budget or the upcoming budget, so. I definitely commend you for bringing that concern to us. We don't always cross the road at the same place as our residents. We don't always see these things, so it's important that you people let us know. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Kylie and then Counselor Ranger.
Through you, your worship, I totally agree with Rick. Also on, with the increased traffic at, the Civic, especially like today when the, flea market or whatever you wanna call it is on. People do not really slow down and, somebody's gonna get hit. It's definitely a high traffic area, which, we need to slow down the speed for safety reasons, so I fully support, what you're saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Ranger.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Could I ask Stefan to come up and maybe just be able to answer some questions for me?
We'll invite the director to the table.
Hi, so if a crosswalk were to be implemented, do you have an idea as to where it would go and costs associated or other concerns or issues you may have?
It was an area that had been flagged by our department, and it's nice to see people coming forward. Voicing their opinion on that. Yes, we do have an idea of where it might fit best. We can definitely look at costs to propose for the upcoming budget. Personally and professionally, I think that's a great location for a pedestrian crossing.
Follow up?
Proceed.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor, to the presenters, has the DSAB, who is responsible for the housing units, supported your petition? Have they given you any feedback as to what they would like to see?
Is this a question to me?
Yes.
Everyone that's on the petition, right, has. Pat me on the back, I'm not taking that per se, but just a way of saying it, because the fact is. They were all concerned, every one of them, the families, I've got people at 25A, 25. I've got handicapped people there, I've got like Jessica there, and they all commented saying it was a very good idea. Because the fact is, it's very dangerous to cross, whatever event they're going to. So. I don't know, when 29, 30 signatures, these are not forced signatures. I gave them the idea, I read to them the petition, and they were ready to sign.
No, what I wanted to know is, has the housing management team, like the caretakers and Candace or Norma, Steve Cox, anyone from the housing
From
unit?
DSAB,
Yeah, from DSAB, did they like,
that is not something that they would even consider.
okay.
Unfortunately, this is my opinion,
Mhm.
because it's not on their property. If
Right,
they had considered it years ago, they would be concerned about it, but they're not.
thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll let Counselor Shabba speak and then I'll come back.
Through your worship, my question is to director, and then the next question is to the presenters. Is it something, the construction of crosswalk is something that we do in-house? Or is something that we typically outsource? I just wanna know if
Through
you
your.
have the capacity to do it in-house if this goes through.
We have the capacity to do part in-house. The material obviously needs to be ordered out, and a lot of the installation needs to be done by a qualified electrician. But that would be the part that is outsourced. As far as putting up poles and concrete footings, it's something that we can do in-house.
So the majority of that could be done in-house, basically.
Mostly, yes, yes.
Yeah, to the presenters, I wonder, since we're looking at Tweedsmuir, I know your petition is strictly for that. But how about that, the road between Tweedsmuir and Duncan? Are there any issues there crossing that road, or the traffic is not as much as we would?
Sorry,
The beneficial.
Tweedsmuir and Duncan?
What's that road there between?
Good fish.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any other issue
Okay.
there, to your best of your knowledge, or something for another day?
So I just caution Councillor Sharma to keep to the petition.
That's fine.
Unfortunately, rules of engagement, yeah. So sorry about that. That will not be posed to you. That is a problem for another day. Councillor Ranger.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, I'd like to put forward a motion to have a crosswalk proposed on the 2026 budget.
Okay, so we can note that. Does it come back in later?
Yeah, just say that.
Yeah, okay. We will add that to item number 10.
Okay. Leave a second.
Anything further from members of council? Nothing noted. Thank you very much for your presence here this evening. We do sincerely appreciate when members of the public see an issue and let us help to solve it. So thank you very much for bringing that this evening. Thank you.
For hearing us. Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay, moving on, item number 5, acceptance of minutes and recommendations. 5.1, council minutes. May I have a mover? Councillor Lava, seconded by Councillor Casey Owens.
Be it resolved that council approve the minutes of the following meeting, minutes of the regular meeting of council held August 19th, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed?
Sorry.
Okay, all in I'm gonna call a vote again, all in favor? Opposed, none noted, item carried unanimous. Just at this time, Sean, can I just get you to check on those folks, just to make sure that they're safely downstairs? I appreciate that. Item number 5.2, committees of council minutes moved by Councillor Rick Owens, seconded by Councillor Pat Kiley.
Be it resolved that council adopt the minutes of the following meetings, minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held August 26th, 2025, and minutes of the Kirkland Lake Committee of Adjustment held June 24th, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 6, reports of municipal officers and communications. Item number 6.1, proposed winter maintenance operational review. This will be presented by the Director of Public Works, Stefan Forte, moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Owen.
Be it resolved that report number 2025-W-18 entitled Proposed Winter Maintenance Operational Review be received, and that a request for proposal be issued to conduct a comprehensive operational review of the town's winter maintenance program. And that council authorize that the required funds for the operational review of the town's winter maintenance program be drawn from the Winter Control Stabilization Reserve. And finally, that the results of the RFP be presented to council along with recommendations for next steps, project timelines, and proposed consultant selection.
Thank you. You may proceed, Director.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. I'm here to present today a proposed winter maintenance operational review. Past several winters has placed growing strain on our operations due to frequent snowstorms and the freeze-thaw cycles. Staff have faced very long hours, and the need for a more sustainable model appears to be clear. Internally, we're not able to tackle this operational review. Therefore, to address this, we recommend issuing a request for proposal to engage a qualified consultant who will assess our current winter maintenance program, explore alternatives like a dedicated night shift, and evaluate operational and financial impacts. Should council decide to move forward with a formal review, funding for this review would come from the Winter Control Stabilization Reserve. While there was a study completed in 2020, the Winter Control and Fleet Services Delivery Review, It focused on identifying gaps in data, documentation, and fleet practices. It was not intended to propose changes to the winter maintenance model. The proposed RFP, however, is specifically geared towards identifying new operational model that could be brought forward for council's consideration. Once the RFP process is complete, another report will be brought to council with the results, and staff will present recommendations for next steps. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I open the table, I just want to say, as long as I've been on council and for a long time before that, winter road maintenance has been one of the biggest complaints. Unfortunately, roads gets it summer and winter. We've had several different CAOs and department directors suggest various solutions to these issues. Personally, I do have the belief that if we had a devoted crew, it would address some of the issues, but I am far from an expert in the area. I do support the operational review from an outside source, as it distances both employees and the public from the recommendations that would be coming forward. I think it's best to get an unbiased review of this very important item that we constantly do throughout almost 10 months of the year. Or it feels like 10 months of the year. And there is always operational betters that we can strive to. I look forward to hearing from a third party how they feel we can both be financially responsible and balance the expectations of the community members. So thank you for that. Any comments or questions from members of council? Councillor Owen.
Yes, through you, your worship, I have a question and probably a follow-up. Do we have any idea how much this review will cost?
Through you, Madam Mayor, at this time, we don't.
So my follow-up is, if we agree to put out an RFP for this study and the prices come in way higher than what we would anticipate, we still have the option of saying no, right?
Correct.
Because I don't want to vote for something when I don't know the cost unless I have the option of saying no. So,
That's
Thank you.
exactly how this is.
okay, thank you.
Sorry, Stefan, just to follow up on the councillor's question, do we know how much is in that stabilization
Yes,
reserve?
it's there.
The stabilization fund currently sits at about 577,000.
Thank you for saying that. Councillor Owens?
Madam Mayor, as much as I cringe to another operational review, I'm starting to really dislike those words. It takes forever for stuff to come back and winter's coming. So I think the status quo doesn't work. We can't just keep doing it the way we're doing it, because obviously something's not working, and I don't think we can blame anybody except for Mother Nature. Things have changed, so but we need somebody to tell us what we're doing right and what we could do better moving forward. So, I don't like the idea of an operational review, but I think it's a necessity at this point in time.
Thank you. Councillor Kylie?
Yeah, to your worship, I agree with Councillor Owens. I don't like the expense of going through a review, but the reviews that we've done in the past were not thorough or exactly operational. And getting somebody independent from the town, I think will give us an unbiased view of what needs to be done. So I support this.
Councillor Owens?
Quick follow-up, is it realistic to think that we can have this done before the snowflakes? Or is this something for 2026-27 winter?
Through you, Madam Mayor. In my mind, I had more geared for next season. I'm hoping that the consultant would be able to see firsthand our operation during the winter months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Makes sense.
Councillor, sorry, CAO Smith? Councillor, CAO Smith?
You Madam Mayor, to members of council. I think also depend on the outcome of the study. there might be recommendations that we can implement before the winter's end. We just don't know yet. You know, so I think we'll have to just wait and see, just to see what falls out. We could get a pleasant surprise. Well, I see.
Anything further from members of council? All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Thank you.
Cheers.
Item number 6.2, 2025 Public Sector Accounting Board Reconciliation. This will be presented by our treasurer, Lori Crawford. I have a mover. Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Kylie.
Be it resolved that report number 2025-421 entitled 2025 Public Sector Accounting Board PSAB Reconciliation be received.
You may proceed, sir.
So I can guarantee you the ratepayers of Kirk and Lake are not clamoring for this particular information. But it's required by the municipal act, so there's a process we go through to reconcile our actual budget, our operating budget, our capital budget to the public standards, the public accounting standards that are required under the municipal act. So this is an exercise in doing that. I will not spend an awful lot of time talking about any of the particular items on here, other than the biggest difference that falls out of the two models is under PSAS, the public sector accounting standards. You don't expense capital items and you don't expense debt payments, whereas under our budget, we do. So once you back them out and put in some of the accounting concepts like amortization and the interest on debt, you come to a very different number. And the appendix has those are the actual numbers. You'll see many of them are rounded off in this because I have no idea at this point, you know, when assets are going to be put into use, when the amortization starts. So there's a fair bit of variability on a couple of these items. We're also potentially going to make changes. We'll get debt, then the debt line changes, stuff like that. So again, this is more an exercise for accountants, but it's required under the municipal act, so I'm here tonight. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has.
Councillor Kylie.
Hear you, your worship. Just to clarify, Lloyd, it's the interest portion that's expensed, not the principal, correct?
In our budget, both portions. In the municipal act, it's supposed to be just the interest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any follow-ups? So just for myself, because they have to do this every year, and in the report, it says like most municipalities do it this way. How great is the burden for staff to have to do this year over year? And is it beneficial, or would it be beneficial to the community to just do it the one way, as required by the municipal act? Or would it become too complex justify in the eye, like to understand for a lay person.
Thank you. The short answer is very large communities, Toronto's, the Ottawas, all the cities, many of them do use PSAS accounting. The vast majority, you could probably count on one hand the amount of small communities that use that accounting standard. It is a complex, more complex calculation than what we do now. Really only accountants enjoy the process to any extent. From a tax rate point of view, it really depends heavily on how much you're investing in your capital assets. If you're spending an awful lot on capital assets relative to your operating budget, relative to whether you're using debt or not, the model can be better. The PSAS model can be better at predicting. So we talk about cash flow, how much money is coming in, how much is going out. It can be better. But for practical purposes for us, the model is fairly complex. It's much more harder to predict where you're going to end up. And yeah, it's not onerous in the amount of work I do for it. But it puts me somewhat in a comfortable position that we're putting numbers that are rounded in here for millions of dollars. And, so, yeah, PSAS is the perfect implementation, but what we use is the practical way to address what we see in our community.
Brilliant answer, thank you. Anything further from members of council? All in favor? Opposed? None noted, item carried unanimous. Item number 6.3, verbal update, 2025 AMO conference update. This will be presented by CAO Alan Smith, moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Rick Owen.
Be it resolved that the verbal report entitled 2025 AMO conference update be received for information.
You may proceed, sir.
Madam Mayor, members of council, from August 16th to the 20th, I attended the AMO conference in Ottawa, along with Mayor White and Councillor Owen. I won't go into great details. There will be updates later in this council meeting from the members. The AMO conference is an opportunity to network with other municipal leaders and staff, and also to delegate to various ministries. This year, the town of Kirkland Lake submitted 3 applications to delegate to the Minister of Infrastructure and 1 application to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. The latter application was not successful. That was to do with the funding for our fire hall. During our meeting with Minister Sharma, the Minister of Infrastructure, we discussed the town's application to the Health and Safety Water Fund regarding flood mitigation and critical infrastructure needs and the effects of climate change on Kirkland Lake. When I could, I attended various seminars. One of the seminars, very interesting, discussed the major HR challenges that Ontario municipalities are currently facing, which are large-scale retirements coming in the next 5 to 10 years, difficult to fill skilled roles, low awareness of municipal careers among students, competition for talent from other sectors. Kirkland Lake is experiencing all of those challenges, unfortunately. It was interesting to note, now there is a shortage of qualified planners in Ontario, and attracting planners, especially to northern communities, is very difficult. Therefore, the Ontario Institute of Planners is advocating for a Northern Ontario School of Planning at Nipissing University. So if that happened, that wouldn't solve the problem in the short term, but do well for the long term, plan for that career. So overall, attending AMO is a very useful conference for the town to attend, and look forward to next year.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. We'll move. Oh, yes, Councillor Shalhoub.
Information where the 6.3, the verbal report said entitled 2.5 for non-conference.
That was in our.
Sorry.
I did, but I. The agenda it says.
Oh, okay, so that's, okay, sorry. Mine is fixed, sorry. Moving on to item number 7, considerations of notice of motion. At this time, I will ask Acting Mayor Kylie to switch chairs with me, please. Thank you, sir.
You read the motion.
So it's moved by Mayor Stacy White, seconded by Councillor Rick Owen. Be it resolved that council for the corporation of the town of Kirkland Lake supports a resolution from the township of Moonbeam regarding aerial spraying of glyphosate as attached.
Mover.
So moved by myself and seconded by Rick.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you through you, Acting Mayor Kylie. As per section 224A of the Municipal Act, it is the role of council to represent the public and to consider the well-being and interest of the municipalities. In keeping with this section, I do believe it is our responsibility to advocate when an item becomes of such great public interest that community members reach out directly for our assistance. Forest management without the use of herbicides is possible. We know this as our neighboring province, Quebec, hasn't used them since the ban on Crown Forest lands in 2001. Currently in Ontario, this herbicide is banned for cosmetic use on lawns, vegetable and ornamental gardens, patios, driveways, parks, and schoolyards. According to their own government website, this pesticide is banned for cosmetic purposes because it may pose an unnecessary risk to human health, particularly to children's health. Though I may not agree 100% with the wording coming out of Moonbeam, I do believe that we should lend our support and advocate on behalf of the community members who felt so strongly about this issue. They reached out in numbers by phone, via social media, direct messaging in the community when I was outside in the community, and by showing up to town hall while we were at AMO to voice their concerns about this matter. Thank you, Acting Mayor.
Do you have any comments from council? Councilor Owens?
Yes, through you, acting mayor. I find it interesting that the government says it's okay for them to allocate spraying, but it's unsafe for me to spray my yard. It's either safe or it's unsafe. It doesn't matter whether you're doing thousands of hectares or a 50 by 100 foot yard in Kirkland Lake. And that's one of the reasons that I seconded this motion. You can't have it both ways. Now, if it's unsafe for my children and my grandchildren and for me to walk around barefoot in my yard if I use this stuff, how is it any different for any resident of Kirkland Lake or area to go out canoeing and have a bonfire and catch fish in the bush that's being sprayed? It's just the same chemical. So if it's being determined unsafe, then it's unsafe. As well as the mayor mentioned, there are alternative ways of doing forestry. My understanding is they would probably be more labor intense. I don't know about costs, but it can be done and it is being done successfully in Quebec. Quebec is a major lumber producer. And so I think we could do the same thing here and keep everybody safe and not get it through the ecosystem into our own systems, our own bodies. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Any other comments or points to be made? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Kylie, for taking the chair for that item. Moving on, item number 8, introduction, reading and consideration of bylaws. 8.1, bylaw number 25-057, moved by Councillor Owens, seconded by Councillor Kylie.
Be it resolved that council hereby approve the updated notice policy as recommended by committee of the whole at their meeting held on Tuesday, August 26, 2025. And finally, that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and the municipal clerk, and the seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 25-057, being the bylaw to establish a notice policy.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 9, questions from council to staff. There were none submitted prior to this meeting. Notices of motion, Councillor Ranger.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, I'd like to put forward a motion to have a crosswalk implemented, or at least, I'd like to have a crosswalk at 25 Tweedsmuir be added to the 2026 budget.
Thank you. Any other notices of motion? None noted at the table. Councilors' reports. Any members of council have anything to share? Councillor Owen.
Yes, through you, your worship. August was a busy month. I, along with the mayor, attended the International Overdose Awareness Day at Tilburn Park in Kirkland Lake. During which the mayor as well as others brought messages of hope. Having been in a place at a point in my life where I had no hope, even though in recovery, it's important still for me to hear that message of hope. And hopefully through my lifestyle, portray that message of hope to others. It is important to realize that addiction is not a choice. I chose to have my first drink. I did not choose to be an alcoholic. It is a medical illness. It is encouraging to see some of the positive steps that have happened in Kirkland Lake to help people with addictions. A couple of examples include the opening of the new treatment center, which is now up and operating, and it was really badly needed. We needed a local place. As well, I was very impressed to see the staff sergeant of the OPP there, along with one of the trained workers from Canadian Mental Health Association. As a person who knows what it's like to be in a life crisis, I also realize the importance of having a trained person along with the police officer to answer the call. And I also think it's important for the OPP to get the message out. They don't just arrest people who have addictions. They help people who have addictions. So that was a well-attended event. And the primary sponsor of that event is the Salvation Army, but there are a number of other organizations that take part in that. As well, I attended the Committee of Adjustment meeting where the committee agreed to reduce the setbacks for a container at a residence in Kirkland Lake, and that will now go through an appeal period before it comes back to be official. As was mentioned, I did attend AMO with the mayor and the CAO. We split up so we could hit as many different topics as possible. The mayor and I discussed which topics we think would be applicable to Kirkland Lake from our perspective, and the CAO, of course, he knows what his job is and he knows what he needs to go to. We did meet with the Minister of Infrastructure. Unfortunately, we didn't feel very positive after the meeting. But I still have hope, because in past conventions we've gone, we've done our delegation, and we've walked away thinking, okay, we're gonna get the money this time. We're gonna get the money we need for these projects. And the money's never come through. So it's very difficult to read what the advisors are gonna advise to the minister. It's very difficult to determine what the minister is thinking. So I haven't lost all hope, but it didn't appear that she was too interested in helping us this time. The mayor and I had a very positive informal meeting with Minister Fedeli. We just happened to run into him in one of the large public areas that we've mentioned. He was still talking about his recent trip to Kirkland Lake and what's going on in Kirkland Lake. He informed us that he's keeping the Premier Ford updated on the projects in Kirkland Lake. And what was even more encouraging is that he also contacted CAO Allen with an update. So it wasn't just lip service, the minister has our back. And he's working as hard as he can to help us, so that was very encouraging. I also attended well, I call it social, sponsored by Phenomenon Partners. And I had a very long discussion with the mayor of Dryden. And Dryden and Kirkland Lake are like bookends, you know, we're almost identical in that we're in one industry towns, basically, well, tourism. We're sort of 1.5 industry towns. We both have major employees that are very good to their employees and to the community. And they are also dealing with providing services for people and businesses that locate in unincorporated areas. The mayor was pretty sure that when they did their study about what this costs the community, that they had also included Kirkland Lake in that study. He did talk as well to our CAO. So their big push at the convention was to see if they can get compensation for the services that they provide, i.e. roads and library and recreation from these unincorporated areas. And like Kirkland Lake, they do charge these people an increased registration fee, but that goes, as we know, does not go anywhere near the cost of providing services. So I think it'll be interesting to keep track of that situation and see if Dryden's successful. We do have a connection there now. We can find out how they were successful and hopefully pursue the same thing. So again, I found well, there was one other seminar that I forgot to mention here. It was about the circular economy. I had to do with drinking boxes. And they had a spokesperson from British Columbia there, which is 38% ahead of Ontario in recycling their drinking containers. I think they're at 83%, something like that. What I found interesting is you pay a deposit, but based on how easy that container is to recycle, you also pay a recycling fee. So when you turn it back, you get your deposit and the recycling fee goes to paying the cost of recycling. What was interesting is that say aluminum is easy to recycle, so the recycling cost might be 2 cents a can. If it was a porcelain container that you bought your drink in, they're not recyclable, and I can't remember the exact amount, but it was over $20 a container if you bought that. The other interesting thing that Ontario has not done is she recommended that you go not for profit. She said that keeps the cost down to the consumers. But unfortunately, we're still waiting to see the program roll out, but we did not go that route. So it was interesting to go to that seminar. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dykens.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you to council. As you may recall, at an earlier council meeting, I reported that I had attended the graduation of the Kirkland Lake District Opposite School, where a well-rounded individual, academically and athletically, was a recipient of the TKL bursary. This individual, Eden Turner, made her way into a local cafe last week with her dad and brought a thank you card for the town. And if I would have been more aware, I would have brought it today, but I will provide it to the town. So she was very grateful to receive that, and now is off to university.
Anything further from members of council? Okay, I do apologize for everyone that will have to endure and hopefully forgive the length at which I'm about to speak about AMO Though I will not cover every hallway conversation, reception connection, or learning session attended, I will cover quite a bit of what I've taken back with me. As always, I left the conference inspired and invigorated, from the first networking breakfast featuring honorary Colonel Sandra Perron, Executive Director of the Pepper Pod, who spoke about leading with purpose and the power of diversity, teamwork, and vision, to the concurrent session on libraries for community impact and childhood development. This year, I personally felt the conference was tailor-made for this time in Kirkland Lake's economic turnaround. The sessions I attended reinforced my belief that supporting tourism as an economic driver is the right course of action for our community. Not only do initiatives to attract tourists improve the aesthetics of our community, but they positively impact quality of life for current residents as well. During the arts and culture in local economic development session, I learned that for every dollar in support, the return is $15 in Northern Ontario. 13% of tourism is based in the arts. To leverage these impacts, we must include the arts in economic development strategies, recognize the arts as a driver of inclusive development, support the existing local arts initiative, integrate arts into city planning, and raise awareness for arts funding. The biggest takeaway from the session was most arts and cultural based activities are volunteer driven. And as such, our job as staff and council should be to make these unpaid jobs easier. Examples of this given included one point person is contact, whether group needs a space at the rec center or barriers for a parade, or how to get their organization on the database, which will be upcoming in the Town of Kirkland Lake website. One of the most appealing ideas was to include murals as part of the CIP for facade improvements. These are incredible examples of how we can support volunteer organizations and businesses to make Kirkland Lake even more beautiful and appealing to everyone. They say the arts are the soul of our community, and they build civic pride so deeply. They simply cannot be undervalued when thinking about economic development and tourism. As stated, we were successfully in securing one delegation with Minister Kinga Surma. She encouraged us to continue to apply to existing funding streams. During the meeting, I also pressed upon the minister and her associates that the need and the importance of creating funding streams specifically for smaller municipalities with populations of 15,000 or less, to ensure we're competing with projects similar in scope, but to ensure smaller communities are just as successful and sustainable as the large and flashy announcements coming out of the south. At the Northern Caucus lunch, President of FUNM, Danny Whalen, and Councillor of the Timiskaming Shores gave updates about the work being done on various local issues, including the policing costs, public health, the need to make NORD's funding permanent, the handling of Blue Box program, and most importantly, the work they are doing to get a full fiscal review surrounding the downloading of provincial responsibilities to municipality, not only financially, but also administratively as well. Mayor Dumont also gave updates from NOMA and the work they are doing for those municipalities. I attended the Partnering with OMA, how municipalities and doctors are strengthening local health access, presented by the president of OMA and others. We were all on the same page, understanding that doctor shortage directly affects the economics of municipalities. Dr. Dominic Norwalk believes the province is listening at this time. She spoke highly of the Learn and Stay program, which provides funding for students studying in priority post-secondary programs in underserved and growing communities in Northern, Southwestern, and Eastern Ontario. A surprising suggestion she had was for municipal staff to possibly assist physicians to apply for funding in the form of government grants, as municipal staff are often experts with deep knowledge of grant applications, and physicians can struggle with such documents. It was noted that under the current system of healthcare, up to 19 hours of doctor's time weekly is spent on administrative duties, which takes away from patient visits. One question from an elected official acknowledged that smaller municipalities like Kirkland Lake simply cannot compete with the incentives offered by larger centers. And it was noted that until physician remuneration is increased by the province, this will continue to be an issue. As mentioned at the top of this report, the Libraries for Community Impact and Childhood Development was not only of particular interest to me as current board chair and longtime supporter of public library systems, but it ended up being a personal call to action. According to the latest reporting from the annual survey of public libraries, 81% of Ontarians still hold their library card. Libraries move the many priorities of the province and the municipalities forward, including economic development, digital equity, and community safety, among others. It is simply undeniable that literacy and the gift of reading change lives. So concludes my report on AMO, but I do briefly want to make some notes of a few other items over the last couple of weeks. Since last council meeting, I attended the second anniversary performances at the Kirkland Lake Musicians Coffee House, which are held at Trinity Church. These events are held the third Thursday of each month, except in December. I'm always impressed with the level of talent that we may not know about in our community, and it really takes going to these events to make yourself aware of all that Kirkland Lake has to offer. So I certainly encourage every member that's looking for something to do to attend the coffee house when they can. Thanks to Minister Fedeli highlighting the Keepers of the Circle project facility, I was contacted by CBC Sudbury Radio, and Kirkland Lake was highlighted on air, resulting in developers and other modular home buildings reaching out to the town as far as Newfoundland and Labrador. And I was pleased to be able to connect them with Keepers of the Circle and their team. Lastly, I want to extend a congratulations to Gina Rathwell, who was awarded first place in areola tattooing at the World Universal League of Permanent Makeup Canada 2025 Championships held in Vaughan, Ontario. She competed among Canada's top medical tattoo artists in a category honoring the deeply transformative work of reconstruction, often performed for breast cancer survivors. It is quite a feat for this individual, and Kirkland Lake should be aware of the level of care and dedication to the craft it takes to win such an award. Ms. Rathwell, you bring great pride to the community, and congratulations to you. I look forward to be able to more formally recognize the people who bring such great pride to our town in the future. Though our foundations rest solely on mining and hockey, community members continue to redefine what Kirkland Lake is known for. And right now, we are certainly known for an incredible amount of Canadian and world champions. Congratulations again to all members of the public who are out there dedicating their time to their talents and bringing home medals and representing Kirkland Lake in such positive ways. All in favor? Oh, sorry, moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Rick Owen.
Be resolved that the verbal updates from members of council be received.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 12, additional information. There was none this evening. Item number 13, there is no closed session. Therefore, item 14, there is no matters from closed session. Item number 15, confirmation bylaw number 25-058, moved by Councillor Casey Owens and seconded by Councillor Pat Kiley.
Be resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk, and the seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 25-058, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. I do call for the adjournment, seconded by Councillor Casey Owens. Thank you, everyone.